Welcome back, everyone, to English Podcast Time. I'm Mark.
And I'm Deb. So glad to have you join us today, as always.
That's right, Deb. And today's episode is all about something we all do, hopefully often, and that's eating out. We're going to talk about restaurant conversations.
Oh, I love this topic, Mark. It's so practical, isn't it? I mean, really, who doesn't go to restaurants?
Exactly. And for English learners, it can be, a bit daunting sometimes. So our goal today is to help you speak more naturally when you're at a restaurant. Really understand all those typical phrases and vocabulary.
Yeah, and hopefully avoid some of those common mistakes people make and, sound a bit more fluent, using some idioms and real-world expressions that people actually use.
Absolutely. So let's dive right into some essential vocabulary first, shall we? Because, you got to know the words before you can use the phrases, right?
Definitely. So first up, we have reservation. This just means booking a table in advance. Like, do you have a reservation? Or I made a reservation for two.
Right. And then you'll meet the waiter or waitress. That's the person, of course, who's serving food at your table. Very important person, especially if you want your food on time, eh?
Yes, indeed. And then the menu. That's, the list of food and drink options. You're probably going to say, "Could I see the menu, please?"
Exactly. And before your main course, you might get an appetizer or a starter. That's a small dish, before the central meal, like spring rolls or a salad.
Oh, I love appetizers. And then, of course, the main course or entree, that's the central meal, the main event, if you will.
And after all that, if you still have room, you'll be looking at the dessert menu. That's the sweet dish served after your main meal. My favorite part, usually.
Mine too, honestly. And then the moment of truth, the bill or check. That's the final amount you need to pay. In the US, it's usually check. In the UK, bill.
Good point, Dub. Good point. And finally, tip or gratuity. That's the extra money you give for service if you're happy with it, which in some countries like the US is very customary.
Okay, so now that we have some of the vocabulary down, let's move on to some common phrases you'll definitely use, starting with making a reservation.
So, for example, you might say, "I'd like to book a table for 2 at 7 p.m. Or, "Do you have any availability for tonight?" Pretty straightforward, right? You want to know if there's a spot for you.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. And then arriving at the restaurant, you'd probably say, "We have a reservation under the name Okuma," for example, if you had a reservation.
Or if you're, feeling a bit particular like me, you might say, "Can we sit by the window, please? I always ask for the window seat, always."
Oh, do you really? I prefer a booth, if I'm honest. But anyway, after you're seated, it's time for ordering. What's the first thing you typically say, Mark?
Well, usually I'd say, "Could I see the menu, please?" And then if I'm, feeling indecisive, I might ask, "What do you recommend?" Always a good icebreaker with your server.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then when you've decided, you can say something like, "I'll have the grilled salmon, please." Or if you have dietary needs, "Can I get this without onions?" That's super useful.
Right. Moving on to during the meal. You might need something, right? Like, "Excuse me, could we get some more water?" Simple, polite, to the point.
Or if everything is just perfect, which, we always hope for, you might say, "Everything's delicious, thank you." It's nice to give a compliment, really.
Definitely. Now, sometimes things aren't perfect, are they? So handling problems. What if you notice an error on the bill?
Oh, yeah, that happens. You should politely say, "I think there's a mistake on the bill," or "I'm sorry, but I didn't order this." Keep it calm, keep it polite. Don't get angry.
That's key. Politeness goes a long way. And then finally, paying the bill. You'd say, "Could we have the check, please?" Or, "Do you accept credit cards?" Always good to check beforehand, especially if you're not carrying cash.
And if you're leaving a cash tip, you can say, keep the change, thank you. That's if you're happy with the service and you want to leave a little extra.
Okay, so let's spice things up a bit with some idioms and expressions. These really make you sound more like a native speaker. First one, a bite to eat.
Oh, that's just a small meal or snack, isn't it? Like, I'm hungry, let's grab a bite to eat. Very common.
And then on the house, this means it's free, paid for by the restaurant. Like, the dessert is on the house because it's your birthday. Everybody loves that one.
They do. And wine and dine. That's when you treat someone to a fancy meal, usually with wine, of course. Like, he wined and dined her at the most expensive restaurant in town.
Then there's fork it over. This one is a bit informal, isn't it? It means pay money. Like, the waiter made us fork over an extra $50 for the wine.
Yeah, that's a little more direct. Not what you'd say to a waiter, but, in conversation. And sweet tooth. That's a strong craving for sweets. I can't resist chocolate. I have a real sweet tooth.
Exactly. And finally, to foot the bill. This means to pay the total amount. Like, my boss always foots the bill when we go out for client dinners. Lucky boss, eh?
Lucky you, Mark. All right, now that we've covered what to say, let's talk about what not to say. This is just as important, really. Avoid being too direct or demanding.
Yeah, for example, instead of give me the menu, which sounds a bit rude, right? You should say, could I see the menu, please? The could and the please make all the difference.
Absolutely. And don't say, I want water. That just sounds blunt. Say, could I get a glass of water, please? It's polite and it's what people expect.
And if there's a problem, whatever you do, don't say, this is wrong, sounding accusatory. Instead say, excuse me, I think there's been a mistake. It's less confrontational, much better.
Yeah, it's all about tone and politeness, really. You want to be understood, but you also want to be respectful.
So for all you ESL students out there, a few extra tips. First, practice pronunciation for tricky food words like vegetables, salmon, bruschetta. They can be a bit difficult sometimes.
They really can, and definitely listen to restaurant dialogues in American English. Try watching movies or listening to podcasts like this one, for example.
Good plug, Deb. And finally, role play different scenarios. Practice ordering, complaining, complimenting. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes.
Yeah, it's all about getting comfortable. And remember, for things like CELPIP and IELTS speaking tasks, clarity, politeness, and vocabulary variety are key. Don't memorize scripts. Just practice sounding natural.
That's fantastic advice, Deb. And that brings us to the end of another episode of English Podcast Time. We really hope this has been super helpful for you all when you're out navigating those restaurant conversations.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep practicing, and we'll catch you next time on English Podcast Time.
Bye for now.
See ya.